we hit on the last episode that America is the home to the oldest Isis temple in the world, right? So when it
It's in
comes,
Arizona,
yes, sir.
Grand Canyon.
Okay, now with that being said, when it comes to that, right? I was doing some research, like I said, since the last call, and one of the things that I kind of stumbled upon that was a little new to me, or I just forgot it, refreshed my memory. But there's a crown that ISIS or Al-Assad wears, right? And if I'm not mistaken, there's 7 cobras across the top, just like you will see the one cobra and the bird on the front of the pharaohs, and the queens and the kings of Kemet's headdress. Do the 7 cobras or snakes or serpents represent the 7 continents of the globe? The 7 snakes that are on.
Those are the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. So when she put that on her headband, that means she's channeling those 7 wise ones, the Nagas queens in 7s, they 7 sisters. So when the chosen son come, he get baptized, he get blessed by 7 Marys. His birthright is secured by finding 7 Aunt Ruths. Because Ruth is the one who is the money pot. She's the one that need to be redeemed.
Yes, sir.
And we all got an Aunt Ruth in our family.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? I got 7 Aunt Ruths. I got 7 godmamas named Mary.
We about to go ahead, buddy.
Or some variant thereof. My first godmama, my big mama name was Mother Margaret.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we just used to call her Big Mama.
Buckle up, tribe. Grab your bags. Save yourself first. For the women and the children, because we about to take off. All right. So now with that, when you said that, especially when you're talking about the money and the wealth, that is attributed to Oya. You're talking about the Ifa, it's African church, spiritual traditions, right? And also, she's a deity who's attributed to the storms. She's attributed to transformation, birth and rebirth, death to the old, birth to the new, you know what I mean? So what Kemetic deity would be maybe the closest one that would kind of be, apparable to her or correlate to her energy, in the Ifa Isheshe tradition?
Those are concepts.
Right.
Right. In the Kemetic tradition, it would be Aset, Het Heru, and Het Hathor. I mean, not Hathor, because that's Het Heru. And Sekhmet.
I sure.
Right. So they show you the image of Isis with 2 lions. The 2 lions represent Sekhmet and Het Heru. Het Heru is the female earth heir, and she's represented as the female cow. And so the cow's still sacred in India. And because they still got different renditions of the same idea, and the cow is the symbol that represents that idea of the matriarch, the mother with the udders. We call them big mamas with the big tatas, right? Because they used to suckle the world.
Sure.
When the orphans come in, some of them mamas couldn't suckle them, so they had to give them to the big mama. And some of them, that's where you get your wet nurse concept from. That's tribal. Because there used to be women in the community that used to take care of the children as like similar to a daycare. And she would suckle the different children at different times. And she'd probably be 4, 5, 6, just like her in there, depending on how many children they got. That's where that whole idea come from. That's some tribal Mississippian backwoods shit.
Yeah. That's deep, because I was watching, shout out to the brother Billy Carson's been out. I was watching an interview he had maybe about 3 weeks ago. I think it was before you and I met and had our first interview. But he interviewed some people who were from the Palladian star system, and they said that they were the elders from the land of Mu, from Lemuria. And it was dope because they shared some sacred stones that were very powerful stones that were definitely from, out of this world. And they were sharing like some of the stories about those stones and how powerful and significant they were in regards to, their home star system.
You got to look at, they already told us, but they told it to us in comic theatrics that's exaggerated. They told us about the vibranium, the what's that stuff Wolverine got?
I can't remember the name of it, but that's what makes his that's what makes
antimonium.
It makes it indestructible.
Right. Then when you go to the Avatar movies, you had the unobtainium. Right. They telling you that it's the gold the whole time, and that certain people's presence on the earth causes the earth to produce gold in its veins. Those are golden ones.
That's deep. Now, let me ask you this. I just saw something earlier today, if I'm not mistaken, and it was regarding Trump and his efforts to, I guess there's some sort of, they're trying to transition back into the gold standard in regards to the currency. Have you heard anything about that? So can you
that's always been the plan. Because the fiat system, it had a system of taxation on one end and inflation on the other end. So the only way to eliminate taxation and inflation is through tariffs and through by money that's backed by substance. Right? Adamantium, that's what Wolverine made out of. And so when a new system takes power, right? System that's founded on substance is the system that's going to last the longest. The American system was an interim government that was only had a 200-year contract that we didn't make, but people came over here and made on our behalf, like they had the right to speak up for us. And check out Young Elder tomorrow, because I'm going to be going over some receipts and I'm going to show y'all how they was doing the treaties. And I say that we didn't sign all them treaties. That's fraud. And by canceling the treaties, it cancels the contracts of the municipalities, what we call your city charters. The charters all trace back to London, England, by way of the Federal Reserve banking system.
Yeah, that's deep, because we kind of tapped in a little bit on that on the first one too, in regards to how that's connected to the papal and to the Vatican and all that stuff. So now I saw also, and I'm glad I thought about this, because this is something else I wanted to go through with you. I saw a lot of coverage regarding shout out to the brother Ibrahim Traore out of Burkina Faso. A lot of coverage between him and Putin invited him to I forgot the name of the day, but that day they just had recently in Russia. Where do you see that in regards to the shift in powers, especially when it comes to allies and enemies with the West? Where do you see that position in Burkina Faso with whatever that situation was with him and Putin?
Hey, hold on, my phone just went out. Let me go out and come back. I have to publicly acquiesce and bow to the New World. The people that was assigned from two sides of the ocean to bring this to a close is the one who came up from the dirt in Russia, who y'all call Vladimir Putin. And the rich boy that came up in America, y'all call him Donald Trump, Agent Orange. So this show collaboration of two sides of the ocean, the two pillars of the earth, representing the two superpowers. The superpowers that was at Cold War with each other for 70 years. The same superpowers that generated the most high-tech espionage networks in the world. The same two superpowers that gave each other technology that produced the atomic bomb and other technological advances between the two nations, right? So the fallacy of Russia and America being enemies when Russia was the only ones that sent support to the natives of the land when they seized Alaska from the French and the Spaniards that was attacking us on the west, that decimated the Caliphate Queens, right? Her castle used to sit where Alcatraz at. They bombed it into oblivion with the Spanish Armada. And then they wrote the fictional tales of the encounter with the Amazonian women, which is another story for the Caliphate Queens, because they ruled all the way from California to the Amazon going around south. And the women used to go there to do women's retreat rituals for cleansing and healing, like after childbirth, after relationship breakups or a person died. They used to go to the Caliphate Queens for healing, spiritual healing, right? And the men would be on the mainland and they protected the castle from the mainland. But they hadn't experienced no shit like that Spanish Armada, right? They built a replica because they got to give us a means to discover what they did. So they had to build a replica of the Caliphate Castle. And you see it every time you watch a Disney movie. The replica of the Caliphate Queen's Castle. And women used to come from all over the world to learn the science of love and the art of making a family peaceful and happy from the highest evolved feminine position of royalty.
Sure.
The culture hasn't changed. We just put on modern clothes. You still have people trying to bring back the old culture, right? When they used to wade in the water, that's not just a gospel song. That's a tribal coded liberation song. Because when the women go back to dressing in the white and doing the water rituals of cleansing and balancing their energy to the spiritual synchronicity between water and spirit, they become a whole different creature. And we got heaven on earth again.
Yes, sir. So that's deep. So I got some questions I want to follow up with that, but we had a tribe member drop a good question I said I'll bring to the floor. So I'm gonna ask from the tribe real quick before I go into mine. So shout out to Yin Yan Princess says, what's the difference between Russia and is it Prussia? Prussia?
Yeah, when it was Prussia is when it was under it was a whole empire. It covered almost 60% of northern Europe. It was called the Prussian Empire. And it was a rival empire to the rise of the Italian Roman Empire. Right? So they fought wars between each other. They culminated with the Bolshevik Revolution and the assassination of Tsar Nicholas, the rightful blood heir. And he wasn't pale-face.
That sounds like the black nobility type stuff.
It was, because in Europe, the Inquisition, the French Revolution was the infighting from the invaders that came out of the Middle East. They came up through Turkey as Ottomans became Byzantine kings. They went across northern Africa, being chased across the desert sands until they crossed into the Iberian Peninsula for the shenanigans they was doing. Elijah Muhammad tell you what they was doing. Everywhere they go, they cause mischief and bloodshed. They find two peaceful people, sow the seeds of dissension between them. This is called divide and conquer.
Yep.
And when they fighting each other and they about to kill each other in the heat of the moment, while they the heat of the passion, they step in the middle and say, I can solve your problem if y'all listen to me. And then he stick his hands out to get paid. So I say for a fee.
Yeah.
So they ran him into, they came into Europe as the Etruscans and Phoenicians. Settled Italy, making Rome. Tuscany was before it was Rome, Italy. So during this time, you have the birth priestesses birthing new civilization in Greece. Right? Remember, the first university in Europe was on the island of Crete. And it was developed and staffed by Egyptian priests and priestesses.
That's deep. That's real deep.
The Jacobite is the imposter. The Earthborn is the original. How do we know this? What do Jacob mean? It means supplanter. What do a supplanter do? It burrows under the root to replace the original. Right? And so the supplanter is the one coming to steal the birthright. They tell you that in the story of Jacob and Esau. Jacob being Jacob. Jacob being the supplanter. To conceal his identity and his purpose, they changed his name to Israel.
Listen.
So now he's living his life with an alias. He's no longer Jacob the supplanter. He's all of a sudden, voila, I'm an Egyptian now.
Now, that's funny because I just saw something today I meant to send you before we got on the doggone air to share on the air, but maybe we'll do it on the next one. But okay, now when you say the Jacob character, now in regards to that, are we talking about the big-headed scientist? Is that the same character, the Jacob character?
Which was originally metaphoric, but he did have a fat ass head. But we be calling people that when to imply they're extra smart. Remember, the term brainiac and the term nerd came from a school of ours called Brainerd University, which was one of the elementary schools that would produce nothing but geniuses. So when you've been hearing people calling somebody a nerd, a geek, right, or a brainiac, all that come from Brainerd University. It was brought back to life by Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen.
When did they bring it back to life? Was it in a movie or a show or something?
No, in real life.
Get out of here.
In real life. If you follow Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen, and they refighting, they raised money to bring Brainerd University back.
Wow.
With their curriculum.
Wow. That's dope. I never heard of that. That's deep. That's real deep.
It's a lot of what because the celebrities are under contract that they're not supposed to do nothing for their community.
Yep. That's how they get
all until the duration of the contract expires. That's to keep them out of community activism work. Because because we believe in breaking bread and helping each other get on our feet. So when you start making $100 million as a basketball player, football player, baseball player, your natural instinct is to go back and put your whole town on.
Right.
I'm finna go put all my homeboys on now. So they needed to stop that. Because of people like Debbie Allen, like Ruby D and Ozzy. They were doing work with the people and they was using their celebrity status, and because they was educating the people, they became just as much of a threat as a frontline civil rights activist on the dark Mississippi road.
Yeah, that's deep. Shout out to the brother Jaylen Brown too, from the Celtics. He been doing a lot of work like that too. He's been doing a lot of work. So now that's real deep.
Yeah.
So
let me thing with Kyrie, they can't contract Kyrie not to do anything for his people, because Kyrie, it is against his culture and his religion, his tribal religion. You can't stop me from doing for my people. And whoever his lawyer is probably invoked that in the contract negotiations. Because Kyrie be doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But see, we forget about Craig Hodges though.
Yeah, I just saw something recently. He was sharing his story. I think it might have been on Matt Barnes and brother I got the other brother Steven Jackson's podcast, if I'm not mistaken, where he got blackballed. He was actually talking about how he got blackballed from the league for that. Yeah,
for wearing the dashiki to the White House.
Wow.
The best 3-point shooter in the league.
Yeah.
The number one 3-point shooter in the league.
Yeah.
And they kicked him out for expressing his cultural identity.
What about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf? He got blackballed from the league too.
Yeah, but he was nutting up though. We could use all his ethnic passes, but he don't need none.
I think he was dealing with a health issue too, though. Didn't he have I don't know if it was like Tourette's or I don't know if it was MS. There's something I think he had some sort of health issue too. I think that was messing with him. Wow. Okay, I tell you what. So now with the Russia thing, because you dropped a lot of jewels on that. Can you talk to, especially with today's overall theme, but we're gonna hit a lot. But can you kind of speak to Russia's their part in regards to this thing called the extraterrestrial technology and extraterrestrial ships and crafts that have I think crashed or either been shot down on Russian territory that they were able to reverse engineer, which led them to be the first, if I'm not mistaken, ones that quote unquote went into outer space in regards to in the last few hundred years worth of time. Does those kind of tie into what we're talking about? Who rose up from the?
So they got all that technology from Adolf Hitler.
That's where I want to go.
The technology was split between Britain and America, Russia, and France. This is where we get Operation Paperclip, where they bring in all of the Nazi scientists and start NASA. That means they already in contact with extraterrestrials at this time. Adolf Hitler was a contactee, and the dude they keep telling us Adolf Hitler, and they keep showing us this cracker. That's not Adolf Hitler.
Like a double, or
no,
like you said,
he was a parody. That guy was a parody of Adolf Hitler.
Kind of like
a Charlie Chaplin. He was a Charlie Chaplin type actor. Just like they put that skin mask on Jim Carrey to play Joe Biden.
Wow.
It's the same thing, and that ain't changed. The strategies that they've been using is the same thing. Concealing identities in order to push the agenda further. They just ran into the wrong one.
Yeah. Now, how does that tie into the Thule Society and what is her name? Was it Madame Blavatsky?
Madame Blavatsky, right? So the Thule Society infiltrated Madame Blavatsky's Theosophical Society because she had what they considered real deal knowledge,
and the power to remote view too, right? To be able to remote.
She was doing all kind of stuff. Her information is powerful. So they put a smear campaign out on Madame Blavatsky, but she was one of the spearheads of the spiritualist movement of the late 1800s, early 1900s. The spiritualist movement in America was triggered by people looking to find a remedy for the conjure of John Dee, that he gave to the Queen of England in order to put the people under a hypnotic trance in America. So this is why they gave us the assassination of Crispus Attucks, and they can't let us forget who shed first blood. Because this is how you gonna determine who was the defender and who was the attacker. That's how you gonna know who is white on the chessboard and who is black, right? The black pieces, they consider him already dead because the white piece moved first. He drew first blood, right? And what did he do with his bloody hands? He covered the mouth of the women so that they couldn't scream while you violate them. So now, in remembrance of any other sisters, you see them wearing the bloody handprint on their mouth. Because they was warned with the threat of death not to say nothing when they got abused.
Right.
It's the same enemy. The enemy cloaked himself. Over here, Noble Jew Ali discovered them in New Jersey as Moorish Zionist Jews. Right? So then, as a counteroffensive, he created the Moorish Science Temple. Right? Because he got to fight conjure magic with conjure magic. Right? All of the chiefs know that back then. It's common knowledge, just like it's common knowledge that Tupac was a rapper. Same type of common knowledge.
Yeah, that's deep. That's real deep. And then, so because that goes back to, especially when you talk about the technology for the flying saucers, the technology for the crafts that the Nazis and Hitler and all of them had access to. Now, when we get into this part of the conversation, because we about to go ahead and start, raising the altitude. When we get into that part of the conversation, where does the correlation and the connection of the Nazi Germany's, society in regards to like extraterrestrial technology and crafts, but then how does that tie into why?
So one of the things they discovered in theosophy is something called the Mahatmas. These were monks that kept ancient scrolls in the mountains of Tibet. So he sent a guy named Heinrich Himmler on an expedition to recover the scrolls. And they got a secret portion of scroll from the chapters of a text called the Vimana Sutra. The Vimana Sutra teaches you or gives you the blueprints to create anti-gravity flying apparatus. So they get a head start. They used modernization to try to update all of the graphics and update the technology that was being used so that they can make the craft more efficient. So those were the projects Hitler had him working on, right? And once they made contact with extraterrestrials, the game plan now has to take a drastic shift. On chess, that's called castle.
Yeah, that's deep. So what is the significance to that whole, the Nazi movement and all that with Antarctica? Because I know they have the poles blocked off and all that. What's the significance in that? And why is that?
Because when Adolf Hitler got a hold of the ancient world map, he found a place called Tartarus. And this is why everybody keeps saying Tartaria. But the place is Tartarus. It's spoke about also in the book of Enoch. And this is the land that was under the ice in Antarctica. They had already received the reports from Admiral Richard E. Byrd about his experiences in Antarctica. That was way before World War II.
Yeah.
So
That was
once they
like 20s, 30s. When was that? That was a long
1927, I think it was 1927 or something like that.
because he was flying over either the North or the South Pole, and he ended up flying into the inner Earth.
That's when he flew over the North Pole, when he flew into the inner Earth.
Gotcha.
When he flew to Antarctica, he talked about the unexplored lands that he's seen. Antarctica under the ice is probably big as North America or bigger.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why when people see the ice shelf, they think it's a wall. Right. But it's not a wall, it's a shelf. If you see it from the top, you will understand what I'm telling you. You can see all of the ancient structures starting to melt through the ice, thanks to the return of the sun cycle. The sun cycle is going to thaw Antarctica out. We got cryogenics and cryostasis from telepathic communication with people that was frozen under the ice to tell them how to thaw them out without killing them.
Oh boy.
Look, they try to tell us that they brought them from Africa and set them loose in Antarctica, and they thrived. And they called them the Bashinga tribe. They was already under the ice. They thawed them people out. Based on telepathic instructions, the Nazis was the first to have a base in direct contact with the people in the ice. Right? One of the things that they was experimenting on is genetics. We got to remember, Adolf Hitler sent Benito Mussolini into Egypt. What was they looking for? Akhenaten. Akhenaten was the last great pharaoh that changed the paradigm from polytheism to monotheism. But it was a paradigm shift that was earth-shaking for the times. So they wanted somebody with the same capabilities, so they started a genetic breeding program called Boys from Brazil. They even made a movie about it. So while they was down there, they say that they was cloning Adolf Hitler. They wasn't cloning Adolf Hitler. They was cloning Akhenaten. And they was cloning them in a batch of 50. And they was always experimenting on